Jennifer from Fiber Flux. Welcome back to week 2 of the 2018 Fiber Flux Holiday Crochet Along. We are getting ready to start working on our Cozy Grannies table runner. Now, like I mentioned last week, this is a very highly requested item, a table runner for the holidays. And it is simply some really beautiful festive granny squares, and we've joined them together using the join as you go technique, and then finally added some beautiful tassels to the bottom. So this week, for week 2, we're going to be focusing on the basic tutorial for the hexagon and the join as you go technique to connect them all together. Now, if you hop over to the Fiber Flux blog, you can see a chart of how I've positioned all the hexagons. That being said, you can really kind of add more to it, make yours much longer or wider, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So stay tuned, we're going to do the tutorial part of our crochet along next.
Okay, so let's get started first on making the first hexagon of our table runner. I'm going to make the center the berry red, and we're going to make our first full one together, but off on the side I've made a few of the other ones so that when we do the join as you go portion of our tutorial, we'll have these ready to go. But you can, of course, have lots of time to make these as well. But we're going to need a total of 10 hexagons. So I went ahead and made 9 rounds. We're going to make the 10th one in full together and then start to grab our pile and join them on as we go. When we get to the join as you go part, I will also provide a chart so you can see the kind of layout that I did. So we're going to do the center in red, and then we're going to do the next round in the Aran, the cream color, and then the next round in the lettuce, and then the join as you go portion we're going to do in the taupe. Now I also wanted to show you, if you have the same palette that I do, I kind of had a little fun with this and I created some other color combinations, and I'm going to put these on the blog as well so you can kind of see. But I did like the one that I'll be using is here, and then I did one that was more neutrals, and then kind of like some darker colors together. And this one I thought was especially pretty with the taupe and the red and the cream. So anyway, those are just some colors you can play around with. And we're going to be using this color combination for ours. So again, I can't wait to see all of the colors that you choose. So let's make the first full hexagon together. I'm going to start with the berry red, and we're going to go through, and whenever you do a join as you go project like this, you're going to start with the full motif first, and then everything kind of gets added onto that one. So you're going to just grab your hook, and just to recap, we're using the Red Heart with Love and the 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook. If you want some more details about what we're using and the colors and the substitutions and things like that, check out week 1 for the crochet along, and the link below will be for that. Also, I always get lots of questions about my hooks. This is a Furls Odyssey. I'll put the link down below for that as well. All right, so let's put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop. Reach in with your hook. Bring up the loop and tighten. Next, we're going to do a chain 4. We'll deal with this tail later. So wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Okay, next we're going to join in the chain farthest from our hook to create a loop. That's what we'll be working our stitches into. So insert the hook in the chain farthest from the hook, bring up a loop, and then bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. And then you can kind of open that ring up a little bit because we'll be working into the center of the ring. Now, the tail here, we're going to hold along the edge as we work, and that will weave it in as we go along as well. So then what you want to do is chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's going to count as a double crochet and chain 1. And you'll see what I mean a little bit more in just a moment as we work around. Next, we're going to work a double crochet into the center of the ring. So wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the center of the ring, bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. Then you'll chain 1, and then you can keep holding that tail along the edge as you work. And then we're going to work another double crochet into the center of the ring and chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, keep working around that circle, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. So we're after a total of 12 spokes on our wheel here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need a total of 12. So that's number 9 and a chain 1. 10th double crochet and a chain 1. Let me get a little bit more yarn here. And number 11, chain 1, and number 12, chain 1. As a side note, these Red Heart with Love balls of yarn have a center pull if you kind of dig around for it a little bit, which makes it really nice. Okay, so let's close the round. You're going to count 3 chains up, 1, 2, 3, and join with a slip stitch to close the round. So insert the hook into that 3rd chain up, bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook, and round 1 is complete. Now, I held the tail is along the edge, and you can just kind of pull that tight now to sort of close it up. Also, if you don't want to do the starting chain to create the ring in the beginning, you can also do a magic ring, and that is totally a personal preference. It's up to you. Okay, we're ready to switch colors. So see, I'm just going to put one of these rounds up here so you can see what we're doing here. Now you notice that we're going to be doing hexagons, and I have circles here. The join as you go round that we'll be doing in just a little bit will be transforming this circle into a hexagon. So we're going to be not only joining as we go, but making it into a hexagon during that step as well. So go ahead and cut the yarn and fasten off. And then we're going to get our next color. So I had just a little bit of this cream, and it was plenty for what I needed to do here because I'm just doing a small round around each one. And as many of you know, especially those of you who are participating in the Grannies stash down crochet along that we're doing, I've been on a mission to get rid of yarn, probably so I can buy more, but that's, you know, not important, right? So I have been trying to use up all of my yarn bits. So let me just, I'm going to zoom out. And the reason I laid this green skein here is because we're going to be doing white on white, and it's going to be a little bit easier with our background here. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is super easy. In any of these chain 1 spaces, remember that chain 1 we did? We're going to tie our yarn on. So just send your hook through any of the chain 1 spaces, bring the new yarn through, and then you can just tie it right on. And once again, we'll hold that tail along the edge as we work. Now, if you made a hexagon before, obviously you can skip ahead to the join as you go section if you like. Okay, and we're going to have this green background, which will be helpful. So insert your hook back into that same space where you tied it on, bring up a loop, and this time we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. That counts as a double crochet. In the same space, we're going to work another double crochet. Whoops. And then chain 1, okay? So that looks like, even though that's a chain, it's still going to be counted as one of our double crochets. Go into the next space and work a double crochet and then another double crochet. So 2 double crochets in the same space. And then chain 1. Go into the next space. 2 double crochet, chain 1. We're going to do this all the way around our circle. And again, it's a circle still until a couple more rounds from now. Next space, 2 double crochet, chain 1. You get a little bit more yarn. Sometimes when these yarn balls get really, really low, they can get a little tangly. So that's one of the things about using up all that last little bits of yarn is sometimes you have a little tangle at the end, but that's okay. It's always super exciting to use yarn up. At least it is to me. Okay, so in the next space, we're going to do 2 double crochet, chain 1, and we're just working this all the way around our circle. Okay, so I'm just working all the way around. I'm almost to the end. Again, we're just doing 2 double crochet, chain 1 in each chain 1 space, just like that. All right, so now we're at the end and we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to count 3 chains up, 1, 2, 3, and join with a slip stitch to close the round. Okay, so round 2 is complete and it should look like that. Okay, so for round 3, let's grab our green because here's our example before the 4th round, but we're going to be doing the green next, and that round is just as easy as, oops, there's my scissors. That round is just as easy as the previous round. It's almost identical. All right, so cut the yarn and fasten off. And then we can grab our green. So in any one of those chain 1 spaces that we did in the previous round, we're going to tie our new yarn on. Same thing we did before. And then we're going to work our round 3. Now I'm saying green yarn, but it can be any color. Remember, we had a bunch of combinations here, okay? And I know that there's a lot of ends. See all these ends when you're doing multicolor projects? There's going to be a lot of ends, but we're going to deal with those later. I like to make all of my stuff and then deal with the ends. Some people like to deal with them as they go along and weave them in, but I'm going to be working on them at the end. Okay, so reinsert your hook back into that space, and once again we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to work 2 double crochets this time into that same space. 1 and 2. So that chain 3 counts as one of our double crochets. Then go ahead and chain 1, and then we're just going to continue around our circle, working 3 double crochet, chain 1 into each of these spaces, those chain 1 spaces from the previous round. Okay, so 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1. All right, so that's 1, 2, and 3. Now if you notice, we've encountered one of our ends here, and I'm just going to hold it along the edge as I work. Same thing we've been doing with all the other ends. If possible, make sure you do this too and hold those ends, because you'll just have to trim at the end. All of these motifs that we're making, you'll just have to trim them instead of taking a needle and weaving everything in. You'll still have to do that for a few of the ends, but not nearly the amount if you weave them as you go along, okay? So I'm going to continue working my 3 double crochet, chain 1, and then we'll rejoin in just a moment, and we're going to put on the fun hexagon round. So stay tuned, and we will get going on the next round, round 4, when we rejoin. Okay, I'm just working those last few double crochets and chain 1, and then we're going to once again count 3 chains up, 1, 2, 3, and join. Okay, so now we have completed round 3. Now let's work on round 4 and do the join as you go beginnings after that as well. Okay, so we can slide all this over because now we're just going to be using the taupe color or whatever color you're using. So let me grab some of this yarn, and I have to find the end of it here. There we go. Okay, so once again, now I'm going to actually trim some of these just for, I normally do this at the end, but I just want to kind of get these out of your way so you can really see what I'm doing here. So when you're ready to do this, just trim them like I'm doing. If you've woven them in as you go, you can just snip them like that. Now some of these, like this very last one, will have to be done later as we work the taupe round. Okay, so once again, you're going to grab your round, and any of these chain 1 spaces, we're going to join the new yarn on. Okay, so just tie it right on. And then we're going to be creating our hexagon. So a hexagon has corners and sides. Our hexagon, because this is the final round of our hexagon, we're just going to be doing a corner, side, corner, side, corner, side. I'm going to show you how to do the entire round. Okay, so reinsert your hook back into that same space, bring up a loop, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then work 2 double crochet. 1 and 2. And then chain 1, and still in that same space, work 3 more double crochet. We're going to create a corner first. So 1, 2, and 3. Just like that, okay? So that's our first corner. That's going to give us that point that hexagon needs. Okay, so next, chain 1. And we're not worrying about the other motifs yet. We're going to be completing this whole motif first before we start joining. And then work 3 double crochet into the next space. This is going to be a side of our hexagon. So remember, we're doing corner side, all the way around. Okay? So work 3 double crochets in that space and then chain 1. Next space, we're going to do another corner. So work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and then in the same space work 3 more double crochet. 1, 2, whoops. Let's go back. Anytime you need to go back, it's always a good idea to keep things looking nice and neat. So you can see, if we sharpen up some of these points, that we're starting to get more of a hexagon shape and departing from the circle, okay? All right, moving right along, we're going to work another side. So I did a chain 1, and now I'm working 3 double crochets into the next space. 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and then we're ready to do a corner again. So 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and then in that same space work 3 more double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Just like that. And we're starting to get a really beautiful hexagon. All right, moving right along, we're going to work a side now. So go 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and then work your corner. 1, 2, 3, and as you can see, we're approaching that last end. So remember I snipped off all the ends earlier? This very last end we can weave along in this round. So chain 1 and then 3 more double crochets in that same space because we are working a corner on this one. 1, 2, and 3. Let me get a little bit more yarn here. Okay, chain 1, holding that tail along the end as we work, and do 3 double crochet. 1, whoops, missed my loop there. Let's back up and try that again. So 1, 2, and 3. Holding that tail if you need to. Work your corner. 1, 2, and 3. Whoops. There we go. Chain 1, and then the same space, work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, we have a little bit more to go. Work your side now. 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3. And chain 1. And corner. If you lose track of what you need to do next, just look at what you've just done, and that will give you the help that you need to see what to do next. Because sometimes I get in the crochet zone and I have to go back and look at where I was. Okay, so that is our corner. A little bit more yarn here. Chain 1. We're going to do the last side. See, we're at the end. We're almost back to where we started. So 3 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and then we're going to join. So count 3 chains up. 1, 2, 3. Join with a slip stitch to close the round. Okay, so we have our first full hexagon. I'm going to go ahead and cut the yarn. So now we're ready to start joining some of these hexagons onto this first one here. So if we sharpen up these corners, you can see this really beautiful shape that we have, and it looks really nice. And you know, you could go metallic for all of your colors. I just add like the little hint of sparkle it throws, you know, throughout the piece. Now, as far as layout goes, I have done a kind of layout where it's 1 and then 2 and then 1 and then 2 and then 1 and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and show you the layout chart, and it'll always be on the Fiber Flux blog, so you can refer to that. But let's take a look at the chart before we begin. Okay, so I went ahead and grabbed the next motif, and we're just going to begin the same way we did before. So we're not quite ready to hook them together. We're going to work a few stitches into this first and kind of get it started. The first thing we'll want to do is tie our yarn on, same thing we've done before, into any of these chain 1 spaces. And we're going to begin our hexagon the same exact way we began this one. If at any point you feel fuzzy about the hexagon, just back up the video a little bit and watch the section where I did this part. So we're just going to begin the same way we did before, chain 3, and work your first corner. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and then 3 more double crochets into that chain 1. 1, 2. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1. I just did that first corner, and then let's work one more side, because the next corner we do, we're going to be joining to our other hexagon. Okay, so chain 1. See, now we have a corner and a side, and then let's create half of the next corner. So work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Now, instead of doing the chain 1 now that we normally do in the corner, we're going to do a slip stitch into this hexagon, okay? So the way I like to do it is, let me get a little bit more yarn so we can kind of slide it out of the way, is to locate any of the points from this side over here. So this corner space here, what we're going to do, now see, we've done half of this corner. So instead of doing that chain 1, we're going to go in the top of this motif, reach back, scoop up the yarn. So look, I have 2 loops on my hook. Bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. And now they're officially connected, okay? Next, work 3 double crochet back into that corner space. Remember the half one we did? To finish off that corner, okay? So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and now they're officially connected, and you didn't have to sew a thing, which is so fun. I love that. Next, we're going to, we're at another space. So really, anytime there's a chain 1 space on our other motif, we're going to join, okay? So we're going to go in from the top, reach back, scoop up the yarn, 2 loops are on the hook, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook, and then you're going to go into this space for this one and work your side. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So the easiest way to remember is basically anytime you need to chain 1 and you're joining onto your motif, instead of doing a chain 1, you're going to slip stitch into the other motif. Okay, So now instead of chaining 1, we're going to go in from the top of our motif, reach back, scoop up the yarn. Now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. And this is going to be a corner because remember we just did a side, so we're going to work half the corner once again. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and now instead of doing that chain 1 for our corner, we're going to go into that corner space, go in from the top, reach back, scoop up the yarn, 2 loops are on the hook, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. Okay, now go ahead and finish off that corner by working 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. So now our hexagons are joined and they look really cute. Okay, so let me get a little bit more yarn here because we're going to finish off the hexagon the same way we did the first one. Okay, so we're going to be doing chains once again because we don't have anything to hook it onto. Okay, so we're doing a side. I'm going to go through this part a little bit quicker because we did the full hexagon a little while ago. And if you need to back up the video, feel free to do that as well. Okay, so I did a side. Now I'm going to work a corner. So that was 2, 3, chain 1, and 3 more in that same space. 1, whoops, 2, and 3, chain 1. Keep dropping my loop there. And now we're at a tail. You can weave that tail in as you go along and work a side. So 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1. We're hopping on over to a corner now. I'm holding that tail as I go. Make your life so much easier. So 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and 3 more double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. For that corner, we can turn as needed, and we're going to work a side, 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Sometimes I like to go through and kind of pull on those corners just to get them nice and sharp looking so you can see what you're doing. Sometimes when everything's scrunched up, it's hard to see. Okay, we're ready to do another corner for our hexagon. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, we're cruising through our yarn here, and 3. Just like that. Chain 1, and then work your last side, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1. Count 3 chains up, 1, 2, 3. Join with a slip stitch to close. And then we can cut our yarn because we're ready to join the next hexagon. I have to say I really love Join As You Go projects. They're very fun to do and they just grow right before your eyes. Okay, so now we have 2 hexagons and our shape is like not in a row but sort of tilted. So this point down here at the bottom, we're eventually going to put a cute little tassel on the bottom of it. So our next hexagon is going to be placed right here. So this one, we're going to have a few more joins, including the one that is in between here. So I wanted to go through with that with you as well. So far, we've only joined 2 with 2 flat sides. Now we're joining 1 flat side and then a center and then another flat side. So we're going to go through this next one together, and then you'll be able to complete the whole rest of your table runner. And I wanted to also point out that I did share with you earlier a chart on how to do 1, 2, 1, 2, and so forth. But if you want to make yours into more of a doily shape, Or if you have a very, very long table, feel free to keep going. If you want to make yours wider, if you have a very large table, feel free to play around with the placement. But we're going to do 10 hexagons at the end and join them this way. So let's go ahead and move on to this one. And then this will be the last one for our tutorial because you're basically going to be joining everything else the same way, following along with my placement chart. Now, what I like to do beforehand is, once again, give all these little ends a snip so they're sort of out of the way. Personally, I always do this stuff at the end, but I do want you to be able to see everything nice and clear. Another thing that's very, very important with motifs is to always make sure they're facing up. The side that faced you while you made each motif, make sure that is facing you as you place these. If you accidentally flip it over and join it that way, you'll have to pull it apart because it'll be upside down. So just be careful when you're working these that they're all facing the same direction. Okay, so once again, we have a point down at the bottom. And we're going to put our other motif right beside this one that we just joined, okay? So what we're going to do is start off by, I'm going to turn this just to make it a little bit easier to work on. I'm going to start off by doing the corner just all by itself so that it'll be a little bit easier. I think that first corner you do, if you don't have to join, just makes it a little bit easier on yourself. Okay, so I tied the new yarn on. And again, I'm going to get that tail out of the way, weave it in as you go, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then you can work your first corner just independently of the rest of the piece. Not joining anything quite yet, okay? So 3 double crochet. Actually, that chain 3 counts as one of our double crochet. So actually 2 double crochet, and then chain 1, and then 3 double crochet to create that corner. Just like that, okay? Next, we can create the side without joining anything yet. So 1, 2, and 3. And chain 1, and then we're going to work half of our next side. So 1, 2, 3. Now, once again, instead of doing that chain 1, this is going to be where our join is, okay? So getting all these little tails out of the way here. We're going to go into this corner space. Now I have everything turned. We're going to flip it back around later, but just to make it easier to work on, I have everything turned around. Okay, so into that corner space, we're going to be kind of fitting it in right here, okay? Actually, it'll be more like that. We're going to be fitting it in right here. So we're going to go right in here, right into this corner space here. Remember, we go in from the top, reach back, scoop up the yarn, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook, and then just finish off that corner. Go into that corner space and work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to go into that side space. See that side space? Reach in from the top, bring back up the yarn, bring it through the loop on your hook. Now work that side space. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you have a tail while you're doing all these joins, not to worry, you can still incorporate it in there. Let me just get a little bit more yarn here so we have something to work with. Okay, so see how we have a tail here? We can still weave that in as we go along, even though we're doing all these joins. Okay, so now we have one more over here. We're going to reach back into that space, scoop up the yarn, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook, and now we're ready to work a corner. Now you'll notice that there's 2 of them here, so we're going to have to join in the middle there, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that. So what you're going to do, once again, is work half of the corner, 3 double crochet, and I am holding this tail along the edge as we work. You may not have a tail in the same exact place as me, but you can weave it in even when you're doing these joins. Okay, and you might want to give it a little tug just to straighten it out sometimes. Okay, so let's look at this a little bit. We have 2 hexagons that we've joined. Now at the bottom here, you can see this loop here along the bottom. Let me zoom in and show you. You have this loop right here. Go in right where that loop is. put your hook in there from the top. Remember, we're going in from the top. Reach back and scoop the yarn up. Now, it'll feel a little bit more snug than some of these other areas that we've joined, but you can still bring up a loop and then go through that loop, okay? So let me back out a little bit because that was a little bit snug there, so I wanted to show you up close. Okay, now go back into and finish the rest of your corner. So 1, 2, I'm still holding that end along the edge as I work, and 3. Now, we're going to come back down this side. So we're just going to kind of do the same thing, okay? So we have a side space, go in from the top, scoop up that yarn, make that join, work your next side of your hexagon. 1, 2, 3. We have the next space. We're going to go in from the top, reach back and scoop up that yarn. Work your next side. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, that wasn't a side, that was a corner. So we're working half of the corner. And see, we're at the other corner of our other hexagon. So go into that corner space. This tail we can weave in later. Go in from the top, reach back, scoop up that yarn, bring that loop through, finish off your corner by working 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we did some really beautiful joins all through this piece. And then we're just going to finish off our hexagon same way we did before. Okay, as I finish this up, we are going to continue to join on our hexagons and until we get to through all 10 of them and you don't have any more motifs left. Now, like I mentioned before, you can, now we're at a corner again, so work your corner. Like I mentioned before, you can add more motifs. If you get your table runner and you're like, wow, that's just a little too small for my table, go ahead and add some more. And as you can see, we've done a couple different types of joins, so you can really keep adding and adding and adding. Now, if you just like this, if you want this to be a little something for a candle or something, you know, you could just leave it at that as well. So this is very flexible for really any size table. You can put it on an end table, whatever you like. But I'm going to make mine 10 motifs. And again, earlier in the video and on the blog, there is a placement chart. So you can really kind of refer back to that and see where you need to place them. Okay, we're working a corner again. So 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet. Okay, chain 1. And then we're in the home stretch. We're working that last side. Okay, so I am going to kind of work and keep rejoining my motifs. Now, when we return, I'm going to show you how they all kind of fit together and how they look when they're all joined together. So anything you encounter from here on out will be what we've already covered. And we're just going to keep joining on motifs, okay? So we have, if we turn it back around the original way, remember we were going to put a little tassel here at the bottom. This is the end of our runner, okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to build 1 here next. And then we're going to do 2 up here and keep going on and on and on until we're out of motifs. So let's keep joining on. And then we will rejoin in just a bit and kind of see the progress that we've made and move on to the next part of our tutorial. Okay, so I went ahead and got all of the motifs joined. And you can see the layout that I did was 1, and then 2, and then 1, and then 2, and then 1, and then 2, and then 1 for a total of 10. Now, like I mentioned before, if you want your table runner to have a little bit more width, you could also add some hexagons to the sides as well. Or if you have a very long table, you could keep up the sequence that we have here and put 2 more, and then 1, and then 2 more, and so forth. So that is the basic table runner. Now next week we're going to be doing the finish work with the weaving in of all the ends, And also we're going to be adding some pretty tassels to the end of our table runner as well. So stay tuned for week 3, and we're going to be putting the finishing touches on our table runner.
So that was our tutorial. I hope that that was helpful. Again, if you have any questions or want to connect with the community of makers, hop on over to the Ravelry group. I'll put the link down below for that, and you can kind of connect with other makers who are working on the CAL as well. Also, use the hashtag Fiber Flux CAL, and that way you can share your photos on social media and see what everyone else's look like. Now, I chose holiday colors, but you can choose any colors you like for this project. Stay tuned for next week. For week 3 is the last week of our crochet along, and we're going to be working on some of the finish work and learning how to make these great tassels. And I don't use any special tools. I'll show you how to make them with just your hands and a pair of scissors. So stay tuned for next week, and I'll see you for week 3 of the 2018 holiday crochet along. Bye everyone.